Hey everybody, it's Linda G and Mel.
Hey, hi everybody. Linda, you got a different backdrop. I love it.
Yeah, I you know what? That door I had with the light in it, it was blinding us. And this way I'm like this. People are upset because they want to see the dogs. But this way it gives me some more privacy. It lets people that need to walk through. Because my house is so crowded with just people. All my menses can go ahead and get ready to go. You know what I'm saying? They can sneak
Yeah,
out.
I've got them waiting in line too. It's like, take a number at the deli counter. Yeah, right.
Next.
When I got to 69, I quit.
So,
In
okay.
funky shirt, my cousin gave me this. Her husband had on one like it. And I said, I really love that shirt. So I thought I'd wear it today because it's 71 here in Chicago. And, my nom de guerre in the summertime was my Aloha shirt. So I thought I'd premiere it for you
It
today.
looks fantastic on you.
Thanks. I love Aloha shirts.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, so here we go. We got questions, my friend.
All right.
Oh, this is a funny one. Janine wrote, she said, how many Republicans will Matt Gaetz bring down with him? I'm sure he will not want to go down alone.
Well, if I was wishful thinking it, I would say hopefully all of them.
Right.
But I don't know. My guy showed me the number 3.
3? Okay.
Yep.
I don't think he's deliberately trying to throw them under the bus.
No.
Green already threw him under the bus. But I
Right.
think it's from something they find out that they know.
Exactly.
Jim, the gym guy, Jim Jordan.
Yes.
He says that he doesn't believe any of it.
About Getz?
Yeah. Yeah, that Jim Jordan, the other one everybody hates.
Well, he says that just to play to the base. I mean, he's got to know deep inside. It's like, okay, it makes you kind of wondering what he's hiding too, huh?
Right.
But I'm sure Getz, I see a conviction there. I see
I see him going to jail. I also
see 2 or 3 of them.
He's from a place in Florida that is kind of prestigious, very right. So if it wasn't for this, they probably have voted him in again. But I do see another person like him coming in. Not as bad.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. SHO. Will the members of Congress that went to Russia July 4th be exposed? Will the contents of the meeting be divulged?
I think there's going to be so many layers of everything that's going to come out. Oh my God, there was enough that happened not only then, but during the past 4 years that could fill 2 decades.
Right.
I do see a lot of information and knowledge coming out about that. So I hear the word expose.
Right.
So yeah, it will come out.
Well, Russia owns all these people.
Exactly. And I'm just so glad that the president now got a little tough with Putin. So
yeah. And they hate him.
Of course, they don't like the Democrats because we didn't sell state secrets to the Russians or let them interfere in the election like Trump did. It's amazing that they scream about the election being rigged. And I just shake my head and chuckle because they're the ones that allowed the Russians to interfere. They're the ones that did everything that tried to rig the election. And now these states are like, oh, we got to have election reform. We got to have election reform because Mitch McConnell's here. I'm channeling him today, y'all.
Hey,
anyway, that election reform in Georgia, that's got to get overturned. And a lot of those.
All of it. I just felt like they can't do it. And I feel people like they're trying to do this block and they were like ants going through.
Look at the companies that are pulling out. It's like Mike Pence in Indiana when he tried to pass that law that they could refuse to serve gay people. And a lot of those companies were threatening to pull business out of Indiana because of it.
Did he turn around and change it?
They changed it. Yeah, they had no choice. So you know what? I think what they're trying to do in Georgia is a litmus test to see if it goes to the Supreme Court with a conservative court, how it'll fare. Well, you know what? It's going to bite them in the butt.
And I'm going to tell you, this conservative court is rethinking their conservatism because we had 2 things come out today that worked on our behalf.
I didn't hear what came out.
Huh?
I didn't hear what came out.
Okay, so apparently the Trump people were suing Twitter and saying you can't tell us we can't block people. Other people get to block. And apparently that went up to the Supreme Court and they said no, they can block you because no, you cannot block people because you're working as a president through like a government working through a private agency. So no. So they voted against Trump. And another one with Google came through. I don't know which one that was.
Well, you know what the Trumpsters called conservatism is not conservatism. It really isn't.
Right.
It's Trumpism. It's I'm like corruption. It's authoritarianism. It's everything democracy is everything democracy is not about.
Right. Okay. So here's the other one.
By the way, yes, Trump will be indicted. Yes, numerous indictments. So, as well as Bill Barr, as well as the post office guy, he's going to get out. He's going to get fired.
What about Jared, Don Jr., any of those people?
Yep. Yep. They better get those. I just learned a new term they're called jail sliders. Are those shoes that you slide your feet into and they're orange? Well, they better get their jail sliders ready because they're going to get those orange flip flops going. Because
just because I kind of like them.
I do too. Actually, put some bling on them. They look pretty good.
Okay. Oh, everybody wants to know about Matt Gaetz and if people are focused on Matt. What about his adopted son from Puerto Rico? What will happen to him?
Oh, yeah, that could be scandalous too, huh? Well, how old is the boy though? I forget.
I don't know. Isn't he like 19 or 20?
He's not a minor anymore, I don't
No.
think. But I think I know my guides tell me that he's going to come forward with some stuff too.
You heard it here, folks.
Yep. The opera's not over. I don't want to say the fat lady. That's an insult to heavyset people. The opera's not over till the classy lady sings. How's that? And so the classy lady ain't sung yet.
Well, also, he may be getting an offer from someone that says, well, write your story and we'll pay you this money, and he'll do it.
Well, you know what? My guys didn't show me that part.
Okay.
But he will come forward and it's going to be explosive.
Okay. Christian asks, I want to know if another stimulus check will be passed and an immigration reform bill.
Well, it's kind of hard to dog tag it into immigration reform, but I do see another stimulus package, yes. And immigration reform, was a horrific thing in this country's history when the Trump administration took children away from their parents. And I see most of them reunited, thank God. We do, I think, have a humanitarian crisis going on our border. Yes. And, it just goes to show, like, if you live in a country where you're starving, that's third world, that your children aren't getting enough food or whatever, people say, well, who could give up their child? I think it's an act of love. I mean, if I had a child, if I were in a country where my kids were starving and I knew that was my only option, that's what I would do.
Right.
So but it also speaks a lot about United States, that people still want to come here because they see a better way. Right. And that's why my grandparents came here. And a lot
of these kids that came in, they have names of people they're going to live with.
That's right. That's right.
You just have to sort it out.
And, I was on the board of directors for an adoption agency. So a lot of these kids could be put in decent foster homes because some of the foster homes really need to be changed. You get me on foster reform, we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
It's atrocious what's going on. But I still think that a lot of these kids can be placed in some really dynamite homes. And yay. So I think that both sides, Democrat and Republicans, is that workable? I don't know, need to get their act together and really focus on this crisis at the border, because it is becoming a humanitarian crisis. I do see a settlement coming with it that's beneficial for all. So good.
Okay, good. Now, what about another stimulus check?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
They might have to use that one-time thing. I forget what it's called. Biden had chopped up two of them. He used one to get this one passed. But they can use it once again, I think. I forget what it's called. It's some
They're
kind
not going to use that for the new deal thing.
yeah, they probably will. But then what I'm predicting is during the midterms that the Democrats will have
Take it.
more people in the Senate. So that's when they're going to be,
Going to town. That's
Right.
when they're going to town. Because Biden's already starting to work on justice system.
Oh,
He's
good.
even got him first Muslim. He's got mostly, all different types. And
Right.
then they'll go in there thanks to Merrick Garland, and they're looking at the big money with Supreme Court, and I'm telling you, things will get changed. That's why they're voting correctly now.
Merrick Garland is going to kick butt.
I know.
Good. And that's infrastructure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
About Otto Warmbier, the gentleman that was killed, the young guy that was killed in North Korea.
Oh, the one that the guy there killed, right?
Yeah, they killed him. Send him home.
Well, they sent him home and said that he had suffered. Well, I don't know what is the question.
They just want to know, does he have a message?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a medium question.
Oh, I got it. I do feel he's at peace, but I'm hearing that he's going to be working strongly with those of us on the Earth plane to help bring about to shed light on people who abuse human rights, both overseas and domestically. So he's working on that.
Awesome. That's cool.
They're questioning the way he died, and it's very simple. I think he was tortured to death.
I do too.
Or put in a coma, and it was irreversible.
Yeah, they sent him home really with no hope. And ask if they care. They don't care.
Well, no, because here again is totalitarian, and they'll do anything to stay in power.
Right.
A lot of the politicians today don't care about their constituents. They claim they do, but they don't. They'll do anything to hold on to power.
70% of America wanted the COVID relief bill, and all those Republicans said no. But their constituents said yes.
Well, like with infrastructure, I do see the infrastructure thing going through, but then you get Mitch McConnell. Well, our infrastructure is okay, and we need to put the money somewhere else. Excuse me? You let Donald Trump spend more than any president in American history, and you don't want to fix our roads and our bridges and things that'll bring jobs?
Oh yeah, no, he's in the poorest state.
Because you know why? It'll make the Democrats look good, and the Republicans can't stand that. I think the Democrats really need to start playing hardball and grow us that.
Right, and they don't want him to be successful.
That's right. That's right. They don't.
McConnell said that Biden's package is too big.
Well, Biden's package is too big, but my package is small. That part of my problem, I got a small package.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because they're going to hit the American public. Even the Trumpsters that are cashing that $1,400 check.
That's right.
And they're going to make people's lives, especially with that New Deal. It's huge. It's exactly what Franklin D. Roosevelt told me was going to happen. 2 years ago, he told me the New Deal would come through again.
And it will. Anyway, it's coming hard and fast. And I had predicted even on your show, there will be something like a civilian conservation corps.
Yes.
Where people will be hired to do jobs on infrastructure. Yay.
Right. It's going to be fantastic. Now, somebody says, when you say they're helping from the other side, what does this entail?
What is
how do they help? What do they do?
Well, I think they, when I talk to my spirit guides, I use my clairaudience and my telepathy. Clairaudience means clear hearing. It's almost not like I'm talking to you, but it's that inner voice thing.
That's what I get all the time.
And it comes through telepathically. That's part of the clairaudience. So I think, they give us the guidance, they give us the message. We just have to trust it and have the courage to go out and do what they're telling us to do.
Right.
I mean, in a positive way, only to help people, never, ever. Our guides will never give us the message to hurt people. It will always be to help people.
Right. And also you have to be able to be tapped in. There's a lot of people walk around, don't want to give that opening to them because they're always there. Asking, you shall receive.
That's right. It's funny when I hear people say, oh, you have to meditate, 3 times a day. Now, I'm not against meditation, but no, you don't have to do that. They're always there. Linda, you're right. We're just have to pay attention to it. And that's what I teach my students in my classes.
Right.
Pay attention. Maybe I'll talk about that when we're together. Pay attention.
Right. And be quiet.
Exactly.
We're too busy thinking as man thinks. You
Right.
can't create from man, but you can create from spirit. And the other
Well,
thing is there's free will.
that's right. A lot of meditation teachers will say, make your mind completely blank. And I say, no, 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 no. I want you to pay attention to that first thing that comes through, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and it'll come through in ways that are unique to you. If you're visual, it'll be visual. If you're auditory, it'll be auditory. If you're feeling or kinesthetic, it'll be more of a clairsentience, a feeling. So I teach my students, that's what you pay attention to. I teach them to get rid of the chatter. The chatter is the car going by or the
The
dog.
chat is the ego.
That's right. That's right.
But in your peace and quiet, and when you ask for something, just acknowledge asking it and give grace. Asking it shall be,
Right.
received. And then the chatter, what happens is we get vibrationally all messed up because we think too much. Think of yourself as the plug-in.
That's
And
right.
you can't do the plug-in if you're constantly changing your mind or what about this or this happened. So
And then when we start questioning it, is that me thinking this? Is this my intuition? Is this my this? Is this my
right,
that?
don't
That's called
overthink.
analysis paralysis. I
Right.
tell my students, just give the message.
There you go. There you go.
I had somebody write, and if I could just bring this up, and they said, what is the difference between intuitive and psychic? And here's my answer. I'm an old spiritualist from way back when. And we look at everything as a form of mediumship, whether it's clairvoyance, clairtactus, clairgustus, clairaroma, all the clairs, okay? Now, a lot of people think that mediumship is talking to the dearly departed, but in my view, we're getting everything from spirit, whether that be our guides, whether that be the dearly departed, whatever, our angel beings, and we're passing it on. That's what a medium or channel does. So I use the word intuition, psychic, mediumship, all interchangeably. Now, there might be people out there that will argue that point, but for me, it's a question of semantics. It comes in different ways, many different ways. But I
Yeah.
kind of use them all interchangeably.
Yeah, and just get out of your own way. I tell this story, and forgive me, I'll do real quick. I had a woman in my reading room, and there was her mother came through, and I'm describing the mother. She said, "Yeah, that sounds like her." And the woman says to me in my ear, "Tell her I can't find my left foot." And then I said, "Oh." And energetically, because I'm a nurse, I'm thinking she must have been a diabetic and lost her foot to diabetes. I went to ask the daughter, was your mom a diabetic? And this woman said, "No. Tell her I can't find my left foot." So I just said it. I didn't try to change it. I just said it. Your mom wants me to tell you she can't find her left foot. She said, "Linda, my mom died in a plane crash, and the only thing they found of her body was her left foot."
Wow.
So you see, just say it. Just do it.
Just say it. Just give the message. Right.
Does the Rainbow Bridge exist for real?
Well, I think as humans, we have to humanize spirit, and I think it comes to us in human form so we can understand it. Is there a bridge made of a rainbow? In my opinion, no.
Okay.
But I think they talk about the connectedness between us and spirit. So some people call it Rainbow Bridge. I just call it the connectedness. I don't
Right.
think it's a place. Like people say, is heaven a place? And I think it's not really a place. It's more of a state of being, I think.
Yeah. Right. And they meet us, our past
Yes,
animals.
they do. They do. Absolutely.
Very
Because
happy to see us.
our animal friends have souls.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't it be horrible if they didn't? I mean, they
Oh,
go
I
into
know.
spirit as well.
Here's another question from City of Trees. Why do we dream or rather have nightmares of fighting evil spirits? It feels real, and I've had many of those. I fought
Well,
evil, and I win every time, by the way.
I think you will if you just protect yourself. Um, what's the difference between a dream and a visitation? There's a difference. I mean, we have nightmares. That doesn't necessarily make it something evil.
Right.
Um, you know, um, Without getting into dream physiology, our brain needs that, and when you're in REM sleep, that's when we're dreaming. And believe it or not, we're paralyzed when we're in REM sleep. But I think if you just have this visitation where it frightens you, just know that you're protected and pull in the white light and you'll be okay.
Okay, good. Did you have any question that you wanted to throw out there that someone's saying?
Well, you know, it's funny when the last time we spoke, and then before that I had done a video, and I put on my Our Lives Matter shirt because it was those high school students that marched against gun violence. And I really, really, really think then the next day that horrible thing happened in Georgia. Then a week later, that horrible thing happened in Florida, I think it was. And now there's been a few more. And I really asked my guides about what's going to be done with gun control. And, you know, let me just preface this by saying nobody's trying to take away anybody's guns. That's not what it's about. It's just about saying you don't need assault weapons. You don't. All right. If you want to hunt or whatever.
Not even to kill deer. No.
That's right. Not even to kill deer. I don't believe in killing. I eat meat, but I don't believe in killing. Anyway, but whatever. I do see that we will have universal background checks for guns.
Okay.
I don't see them outlawed. But, you know, and I think that people are going to be forced when they buy a gun to take a gun course and this and that and da 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 da. Unfortunately, that's still not going to weed out the people who have mental illness. But the thing in Georgia, I think those lawyers are trying to make him look mentally ill when really he was a racist.
Yeah.
He just went on a murder
And
rampage.
somebody told me in 2017 he had pinned a minor down the same way for
Right.
17 minutes.
You know, but I'm talking also in Georgia about the shootings with the Asian women.
Oh, yes, yes.
That was also racist.
Right, right.
And so I think because when the past administration gave a wink and a nod to racism, fascism, a lot of these people who had some radical ideas became more radicalized and thought somehow or another it was okay to go out and do this and nothing would happen. Well, it's not okay. No matter what side of the fence you're on, it's never okay to go out and hurt people or to take their lives. That's just not right. Whether you're a police officer, whether you're whomever, it's just not right.
Well, also, energetically, you know what happens to them on the other side.
Of course, absolutely.
And never really take away anybody's soul. So they maybe even chose from another life to take this path of being murdered, but they're over there and in peace and love. And guess what's going to happen to you?
That's right. And I think people that are really evil, like the Hitlers and things like that, I think when they die, they just cease to exist.
Yeah, that could be. I know that sometimes they try to put you in a disabled body as an infant just to feel love. You're supposed to grow, but it's
Right.
not very good.
But so I do see better gun control coming. Somebody asked about Rubio's seat in Florida. Would the Democrats win his seat? And
You don't feel it?
you know, Florida's got a long way to go before it even.
I know.
At some point, I do see it blue. You know, DeSantis, I think he's going to be gone. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see Rubio having a voice.
He doesn't really. He really doesn't. He thinks he does, but he doesn't. I mean, at some point that seat will go Democratic, but it's going to take a while. I don't know what you feel about it, but.
Well, I see him going, but I see him going, but he's not an old man, so I do see him going, but we'll see.
Right. And somebody's asking about, will we reset our monetary system? You know, I tell people to stay away from Bitcoin because it's not regulated and it's too speculative. And so what happens is I think North Korea bought a bunch of it and then dumped it back in the market because, you know, supply and demand. And if there's not a lot of supply, the demand goes up, which makes costs go up. But when they dumped it back, I mean, people that had millions ended up with like $5,000.
Right.
But, you know, I do think what's going on with the monetary system now is it's all plastic. I mean, nobody uses dollars anymore. It's almost more of like a concept as opposed to they exist. So I see it more, you know, plastic and more. When I say cyber, I don't mean Bitcoin, but I'm talking about like how we transfer funds from a bank account. So we never see the money. More like that.
I know. In fact, the stock market is up nearly 400 points today.
Good. Yay.
Remember Trump, if you vote for Biden, the stock market's going to crash.
Oh, well. A
So
lot.
everybody's asking me about DeJoy. When the heck is, I know he's leaving. That I can guarantee you.
Well, he will be leaving, but I think before Biden can get rid of him, he has to get 3 people in that committee or something
Right, he has the 3 people.
he does. But I think by summer, DeJoy will be gone.
Thank you. But he's got to move in
And
there. He's got to.
And I think the person that Biden puts in there will kick butt, will be really good.
Okay.
Well, they're going to say, okay, why did you dismantle those machines? Well, the court said they had to be put back together. I mean, there's no reason why that the post office should be in such bad shape had DeJoy done his job.
Right.
So my guides say that'll turn around too.
So will Britney Spears ever be financially free of her father?
The short answer is no, until he dies.
Really? I heard that it's really hard to get out of conservatorship.
It is. It really is. I think at some point, yes, but you kind of have to show that you're really on the straight and narrow for quite a while and that you're stable and all that stuff. So,
right. Okay.
But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, I felt it would be sooner than this, so I had it wrong.
No, that's okay. You know what?
But I see him going.
He will, but you know, there in spirit there is no time, so that's why it's hard. You know, we think of it as linear, and I base my timing on the numbers that pop in my head or how strongly I feel something. But sometimes it's the emotion of it we're hooked into.
Right. So, do guide dogs serving the blind know they are actually working for the blind?
I don't know if they know that the person is blind, but I think they can sense it. But like, you know, my hobby's dog training. Oh my God, I love training dogs. My dog is trying to help me with my hearing. So we've taught her with things I can't hear. She'll look at it and then she'll target touch and let me know where the sound is coming from.
Wow, that's wonderful.
I'll tell you a funny story. When I had my hearing checked, I took her, she had her service dog vest on. She's also a therapy dog. But anyway, I had her in the room with me. And there's like a glass window, but you can't hear anything. They got things in your ears and things over your head and stuff. And the audiologist said, now, when you hear a tone in your left ear, you just press this button, right? Well, I'm not hearing a thing. I'm just sitting there going, when is this going to start? Well, the dog keeps target touching and looking up at this thing, and she's target touching me. Then she gets, and I'm saying, Lucky, stop. She puts her paws on my knee and she takes her nose and she's nudging me and she keeps looking at this thing. And the audiologist said through the headphones, your dog is cheating. Lucky was hearing it, but I couldn't. So she was letting me know there was a sound that I just wasn't.
That's wonderful. How long did that take you to train that dog like that?
Well, what we did first of all is we taught her to target touch. So you take a treat and you put it behind your finger like this. And as soon as she touches with her nose, yes. And she, good touch, yes. So then you do away with a treat and you say touch, and then you mark it with like, you could use like a piece of paper or whatever. And then you change the different touch points. Then what we did is we would make a sound and I taught her to speak, so she would bark. But you got to be careful with that because then you just get a neurotic barking dog. But we taught her when there was a sound that I can't hear, like a doorbell or a cell phone, she would look at it and then we would say touch.
Right.
Yes, or the treat. She would look at it, yes. And so we linked it. And so that's how we taught her to do it. I think they kind of know they're helping, but specifically people that have, let's say, breathing issues or diabetes, the dogs are taught to see when a person is going into distress. So you can teach them to press the medical alert button, or there's certain smells the body gives off. The dog can smell and is trained to kind of do the stuff to help the person get through that acute crisis.
Right. Or even before seizures.
Exactly. That's how we do it.
How
there's a smell. There's an odor the body gives off that the dog can smell, but we can't. Right. A dog smell is anywhere from 100,000 to 300,000 times greater than a human's. So it's
now why they look at me like that?
I'm sorry. Yeah, there they go.
Oh God, mommy cut the wind again.
Mommy. Mommy had beans for dinner.
Hey,
Um,
this is a very good one. I love it.
I think they know they're helping. Yes. I don't know if they know that the person is blind. But a service dog is just not relegated to blind people. Sometimes you can't see a person's disability.
Right.
And I just will touch on this really quickly. If you see a service dog that says service dog, do not pet. Please, 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 please don't pet the dog. Don't talk to the dog. Don't distract the dog.
Right.
Because if you do that, the dog is not paying attention to the person with a disability and might miss a valuable cue.
Right.
And so the dog gets distracted.
Right.
That's why when Lucky is working, I train her in German because nobody can understand the commands or say them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right. But when I have her service vest on her and she's in the grocery store, people are going, "Oh, cute dog." I very politely say, "She's a service dog. She's doing her work. Please don't disturb her." Some people get indignant, but I try to be, I'm not a jerk about it. But then, like the other day, I took her to a restaurant. We were sitting outside and it was really nice. And the waiter came up and I ordered some iced tea and stuff. And he goes, "Your dog, that is the sweetest dog." I said, "I know, but she's a service dog." And he goes, "I would just love to pet this dog." And I'm like, I'm not supposed to. But I said, "Lucky free." And then she got to be petted and then she came back to work. So,
okay. Oh, cute.
So if you see a service dog,
don't. I know. I found out the hard way. You're not supposed to do that with police dogs.
No, you're not, because they're working and you're, with a dog bite. Well, they won't bite you, but they might let you know you're coming.
Nice kitty.
Yeah, right. Anyway,
hey, here's a really good one. I bet you no one's ever asked you this. No one's ever asked me this either. Melissa, will we ever find a healing treatment for stretch marks?
Yeah, it's called collagen.
That could be male or female.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that's a good one. Probably not in our lifetime, but
I don't think in our lifetime either. I'm just
the nearest thing I can think of is plastic surgery.
I know you can take it all in with plastic surgery.
Well, if anybody says, Melissa, that there's a cure for it and you're going to, call that 800 number, save your money because it ain't going to work.
There's so many people came out with stuff and it doesn't work.
It ain't going to work.
It doesn't even help like when you're pregnant to put certain products and hoping you won't get stretch marks. You still get them.
Guys get them too.
Right.
Okay. Here's another one I got. What can we do to stop animal extinction? I love that one.
Oh, yeah.
Climate change. Well, some animals are becoming extinct because we are intruding on their territory and we've hunted them to extinction. So, my guides tell me the biggest answer is awareness, like awareness, and putting money into saving the climate and the environment.
Oh, yeah.
Most animals that have gone extinct, at least in my lifetime, were not due to climate change. It was because of humans. Whereas before, 100 years ago or 200 years ago, well, many of them were over 100, but they became extinct because of certain biological reasons. But now, the extinction rates are huge, and so, and we need to stop destroying their habitat, and so.
Will Pence be held accountable in any way for the insurrection?
The answer to that is no. All right, because they were chanting, hang Mike Pence, and he did what he was constitutionally and legally supposed to do.
He did. I'll tell you, I was surprised.
I'm not fond of Mike Pence, but he did what he was supposed to do.
He did.
After that, he kind of promoted the big lie, but still, or before that. Right. But Trump will be held accountable, civilly and criminally.
Thank you. That's great news. Patricia said, as a young girl, we were told that some people who died with sins went into limbo, where they remain until their souls are cleansed.
I don't believe that for a nanosecond, nor do I believe in purgatory. Here's the deal. Limbo, actually, I'm Catholic, so not a very good one. But limbo was supposed to be a place where unbaptized babies went, because the church believed in original sin. That was, Adam and Eve stuff. Okay. So, my mother had a child that was a stillborn, And some of the Catholics were like, you had to get the baby baptized because he's going to be in limbo. And my mother was like, I'm a Catholic, but that's bullshit. Oh, sorry. Oh, did I just say
Okay.
that?
Okay.
um,
You said that's
so,
bourgeois.
so I guess my biggest question is, after Vatican II, in 1961 or 62, whatever it was, and the church reformed and they did away with limbo. It's like, what happened to all those babies in limbo? Where did they go? They're just floating around out there somewhere.
Well, I do see people having a hard time adjusting to the realm of complete unconditional love.
That's different. That's different. But the church, she asked about limbo. That specifically was supposedly a place where unbaptized people went. So why would God not allow people into heaven, especially an infant? That's BS. Purgatory, on the other hand, was a place where people had to go. It wasn't quite hell, but it was hellish. All right. Because they had to go there to repent for all the things they've done before they could get into heaven.
Right.
I don't know if I believe that. I do believe that there are spirits that aren't with the highest level of light that are earthbound until they work on their karma. Then they go to a higher level. But as far as a purgatory, I don't really believe in it.
Can I ask you something? I was having a discussion with a Catholic friend last night. He's very knowledgeable about how it was back in the day of Jesus. He said it was poverty, poverty, poverty. And I always thought that he was middle class. Jesus was middle class because Joseph, a carpenter, they could provide, everybody worked with each other. But do you think Jesus was married?
That's really good because no Catholic will say, oh no, but that brings a couple of things to mind. Like when you see these anglicized pictures of Jesus where he's got lighter hair and blue eyes, not. Yeah. Jesus Middle Eastern. People there are darker skin. So Jesus would have had darker skin, darker hair, darker eyes. Okay. There's really nothing in the scriptures that I know of that says that he was or was not married. There's nothing in there that addresses that.
Yeah, but also I don't quite trust the scriptures because that was cut and pasted by Constantine.
Well, even before that, my father was Protestant, even a United Church of Christ, which is a very liberal Protestant church, and my mother was Catholic. So we had to go through the catechisms and all of that. And then when we were, I think 11, we had to start going to confirmation class. So once every Friday for 3 hours, we had to go, and we started with the Bible. And for 2 years, we went all the way through. So I know it front end and back.
Right.
So, okay. So a lot of the people that were writing about Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, they weren't disciples. They were writing about him 100 years or more after he died.
Yeah.
So that would be like us right now writing about George Washington.
Right.
With no written stuff, it's just word of mouth. So
exactly.
Things get kind of.
And the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's many gospels in there that say that he was married. He would kiss Mary on the lips, that the other disciples were sort of jealous of her because he spent so much time with her. But my friend said, no, he made a vow of poverty and he knew what he had to do. And I'm like, yeah, well.
There's nothing in the scriptures about that.
You were in his body, how do you know?
There was nothing in the scriptures about that. And some people do think that he and Mary Magdalene, they don't know if she was a prostitute or not.
She wasn't.
But they think that they had something together,
Yeah. Well, that picture where they're all sitting at the table, if you notice, that one next to him looks like a female. They say that's Mary.
Well, a lot of times what happened is, I think Da Vinci painted that. That was like a long time after Christ died, 500 or 600 years, whenever he painted it.
Right.
But a lot of times they would use women as models, and because they have to look at somebody.
Right.
So actually, there's a picture of a Da Vinci in there too. If you look in the back, it's a self-portrait of him.
I feel that Jesus of Nazareth, as in human form, fell in love and was with Mary. I don't know for sure if they were married, but I definitely know So
Well,
when
there's
I heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls, it didn't surprise me.
well, the Dead Sea Scrolls were kind of written right around that time, and so a lot, they they talked about kind of what was going on during that period.
Uh-huh.
Um, but there's really no historical evidence other than what's in the Bible and all of that to even know if there was a Jesus Christ. I do believe there was one,
I
yes.
do too, because I've seen them. But
I
yeah, I know what you're saying, because a lot of historical writers back in those days, they never mentioned Jesus.
Right, exactly. So a lot of it is just kind of folkloric and is passed on from generation to generation and
Right.
was verbal oral
But
tradition.
for somebody that did not exist, boy, that really changed the world.
That's right.
Something happened.
Of course something happened. I believe I do. Don't everybody write me and say I don't believe in Jesus, because I do. All right.
You.
I just don't buy all the dogma.
Right. And I think he was a master. I think he came here to do, but I also think he served as human and felt all human emotions.
Well, he did. He was a
Wow.
human. He
Yeah.
was. It's funny. Uh, a lot of the holidays we celebrate, we think, from a Catholic standpoint, a Christian standpoint, that that's when they exactly happen.
No, no. They're
They
actually saying in one of the books I read that he may have even been born August 20th. Jesus.
right. They know, well, he wasn't born in December. They say when shepherds watch their flocks at night, and they never do that. They always do it in the spring when they're lambing. And so the reason it came about was December the 21st was the winter solstice. It's the shortest day of the year in the Western Hemisphere, and the Romans celebrated December 21. It was like a long feast, I think maybe 12, 14 days, whatever. So the early Christians decided they would celebrate then because they were fearful of being persecuted by the Romans.
Okay.
So the Christmas tree is really a Celtic tradition. It's not a Christian one. They would bring in a tree as a symbol of rebirth.
Okay. Okay.
The rabbit is also a pagan or Celtic tradition, the symbol of fertility, because in the spring, everything's reborn. It's coming alive again. So that's why they picked a certain day for Easter to say when he resurrected, but nobody knows that date.
Well, except about the Sabbath, right? Or about the Passover. Didn't he die around Passover time or no?
That's what they say.
Oh, okay.
Well, Pesach just happened, but here again, the way you do the calendar, because sometimes it's right around Easter. Like, for example, Greek Easter, Orthodox Easter is a month from now. They do it based, I think, on the cycles of the moon.
Okay.
But I don't know exactly. But a lot of
I don't know if you read this article, but scientists looking at astronomically back in time say there was a rather large comet that they could have called that the star.
Exactly. They try to. There's a really neat thing at the planetarium in Chicago, and they're trying to explain the star of Bethlehem. It's really cool stuff. So I'm metaphysical, and I do believe in Jesus, and I believe in the teachings of love, tolerance, acceptance, caring. Now, if you want to talk about what's going on with the ultra white movement in Christianity and saying God doesn't like you if you're gay or if you're this or you're that, that's not Christianity. Count me out.
Yeah.
But I'm also very curious and scientific by nature. And
right. So you'd love to know the science. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
Yeah.
So,
that shroud of Toronto, I think that's real. The shroud is real.
Well, they don't know, but they know that, around the time it happened.
Right. And it matches. And the fact that body was upright when it did this high X-ray where it implanted itself on that shroud. Something in those days, especially, no man could do. So he went up in the air and he dissipated and he left his print on there. And they even got his blood was AB.
Wow.
They knew his height. They knew everything.
Interesting scientific fact. If they took all of our blood, we would trace the genes back to the time of Christ. We all have some genes of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Isn't that?
And we're made of this stuff of stardust. All that stuff floating around the cosmos, that's what we're made of.
That's what we're made of.
Now it's arranged. It's fascinating. It's like, wow. It boggles my mind.
I do mind that religions try to take man's free will away. As you know, even with the Catholic, priests could be married back in the day, and they changed that. They changed eating fish on Fridays because they wanted more money from tithing with fishermen. And so these popes or men, they come in and they change things. I know a lot of women had a lot of babies because they didn't believe in birth control.
Well, up until the Middle Ages, priests could get married, but believe it
Yeah.
or not, there were the educated class, and the priests they were scribes. Many of them were monks. They could read and write. The peasants couldn't because it was a feudal society. There was, the upper class and the poor.
Right.
That was it.
That's it.
And so, what would happen is they would charge for confessions, and they would charge a lot for the rich. The peasants couldn't quite afford it, so they would bring a loaf of bread or whatever they could. All right, so these priests could marry, and they were amassing great sums of money and
Okay.
buying land.
Something like that. Yeah.
So that, and when they would die, the church wouldn't get any of it. So the church said, "Wait a minute, we don't like this."
Yeah, that's why they did it.
They did the Mitch McConnell. Well, no, we don't like this. We want
But I like the camaraderie that happens with religion. I
you know,
like people enjoying and going to their church and feeling good about it.
I love, what, like, don't get me wrong. I love a Christmas tree. I love a menorah. I love going to a mass at Christmas because it's their tradition.
Yeah, a lot of people enjoy that.
And people like the tradition. I'm not anti-religion provided it doesn't get judgmental.
Well,
I think
unfortunately, some of those churches can get real.
But my guides told me if that is a tool for someone to achieve their spirituality, that's their path. And I've taken mine. And even though I don't have to agree with them, I can still live in peaceful coexistence.
Right.
And that's what it's all about.
Exactly. Well, my motto is what I've been told is that which is of man is man. That which is born of spirit is spirit. So there's two totally different energy forms here.
Oh, I believe that. I totally believe that.
So
But
I really feel I saw Jesus. I was raised by atheists. I saw Jesus when I was 8 years old, and I knew he was the man. And then I would go to the churches with my girlfriends. My parents let us go Sunday. Can I go with Kathy to her church? Can I go here? And they'd have those Bible classes for the youth. And I remember thinking, wait a second, that's not the Jesus I met.
Right.
They had their own thing.
The funny part is that when we come in contact with a consciousness like that, it will come to us in ways that we can understand it.
Yes.
And
exactly.
So that's why you had your vision of Christ, where other people would have a different vision, because it comes in ways that we can understand it according to our own kind of cultural norms or whatever.
Mostly people are really good. I mean, compared to my youth, the strict Catholicism and all the friends that went to Catholic school down the street from me, it's night and day now. It's way better. It's a shame because a lot of people turned against the church because the church is just too busy trying to tell them what to do. They empower themselves from fear. They want you to be fearful.
I like this current Pope, though, because he opened he said he believes in civil unions for gays, and he opened the door for us to go back to church. Not that it ever stopped me, because if I
no, he said no to civil unions for gays.
Oh, I thought he did. I think didn't he like say something about
people were all mad at him now again.
Oh, we have the rights to get married, whatever. But
he's old, he's Catholic, and considering, I think he's come a long ways compared to other popes.
Absolutely. I do see a time when priests will be able to get married again. And I do see a time when gay people will be open to communion. I take it anyway.
And can women be priests?
I'm sorry?
Can women be priests?
No. Nope.
See, they still do that. What the hell is that all about?
Well, in fact, maybe not in our lifetime, but I think there's going to be a time when women will be priests. I have predicted this, that at some point, I do think maybe in our lifetime, we'll see a pope that will come along that will have a third Vatican Council that will reform the church the way I think was it Pope Paul or Pope John, I forget, that did the first Vatican Council. Right. They elected him because they didn't think he would do anything. He reformed the whole church. He brought scholars together from everywhere. Wow. And I got a feeling there's going to be a third Vatican Council. Wow. Will reform the church. again. So I think it's
Yeah.
sort of good. But
It's I'll tell you, the Jesus I know is a beautiful thing.
me too. And I do have my saints. They're like spirit guides. It's kind of same
I
kind of.
like saints too. And by the way, one day I was reading, a Jewish woman and her family was over there, and they said to me, "Tell her the saints do exist."
Oh, they
I
do.
don't know why they said that to me, and I told her, and she got mad and left. My mother would never say that. No, your mother in human form may never say that, but that's what she told me to say.
Well, they do exist, I think. All right. So another one. People are asking about more pandemic and a virus, another virus.
Yeah.
Um, Well, I think we need to be careful because if we don't stop stripping our rainforest and stuff like that, there's going to be a virus that's been isolated for thousands of years that can make Ebola, which is 30% deadly, look like a gentle breeze. People are worried about the ice caps melting. What's that going to do? Will that unleash a virus? I don't think that would, but then we have to
Yeah.
worry about global flooding. So we really need to be cognizant about
And I
preserving.
think our science is really going to be on this more so, not with Trump. Trump, forget about it. But we're going to have backup plan after backup plan. And I don't see a big wipeout of people by anything. That's my opinion.
Well, not in our lifetime, but at some point it's bound to happen.
Right. Well, like the 1917 flu.
Well, we think we're past the great plagues that happened in Europe. Like that wiped out half the
Oh,
population.
that was so bad.
That was a bacteria, but there was no cure for it in those days. Well,
Yeah.
virus can do the same, but we really don't have a cure for a virus. Well, there's one, it's the cure for hepatitis. But the bottom line is we have to be careful.
Yeah.
So that sort of stuff doesn't happen.
Right. Right. Well, scientists are on it, my friend.
They really are on it. They're doing a great job of it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so people don't be afraid of the vaccine. Somebody asked about AstraZeneca. If you're worried about getting a blood clot from a vaccine, take an aspirin. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the Johnson and Johnson one.
I think AstraZeneca too. They took one of them.
Yeah. AstraZeneca. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
So, Linda, when I had COVID, you texted me. I said, I'm taking Tylenol. You said, take aspirin. And my great niece, who's a respiratory therapist, said that. So I started on aspirin.
Yeah.
It prevents blood clots. But, if you look at the amount of blood clots that came from that, if it indeed did come from that, who knows what it could have come from. But the amount of lives it saved. So it's the amount of lives it's saving is far more worth its value.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I'm telling you everybody to get a COVID vaccine because I had COVID and trust me, it will kick your butt. You don't want it.
Yeah, you don't want it, you guys. And I feel better. My son had his first shot. Yeah. So get it, you guys. So listen, can you believe we've been talking for an hour?
I cannot believe it. Oh my goodness.
It went by so fast. I looked up, it's 11 o'clock.
I like getting into some of the religious conversations.
Yeah, well, I had a long conversation with my friend, and he's very Catholic. And he also enjoys, which I enjoy, any of the stuff they're digging up, even in where Jesus was, how they lived and stuff. But I say, you can't say that Jesus was this if you're not walking. I just say, I think he very possibly was married. I really do. And that, so the Dead Sea Scrolls and this book written in the Bible, what came first?
Probably the Dead Sea Scrolls.
That's what I thought, but he said it came long after.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Because the Bible, it wasn't put together. I don't know the exact date when it was put together. There were just different scriptures and things, but it wasn't put together for a long time after that. So the Dead Sea Scrolls came first.
And Constantine was the one that started that, and his mother. And they cut and pasted. They took out what they didn't want. Like Mary, they made Mary into a prostitute when she wasn't.
Right. Like the Virgin Mary, people are wondering about that. But there's some theories saying, I think she was in a scene. I forget exactly what she was, but there was a thing where when you would get married, you'd have one ceremony. And then a couple of months later, you'd have another ceremony. But during that time, you were still considered a virgin.
Oh, okay.
So they're thinking that maybe she got pregnant.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it was referred to as a virgin.
I've never heard that. That's interesting. I'll look that
Or
up.
like I'll give you another one to think about. I still think she was the mother of Jesus and the mother of God, but I'm just throwing out some stuff. Like, for example, when the Bible says that Moses parted the Red Sea, it was a mistranslation from Greek because the Greeks had a Bible. So it was, the word was the Reed Sea. So the idea was that Moses was able to cross the reeds with his people, and the Romans got bogged down their chariots. And so
Oh,
they said that,
that makes total sense.
right.
There's a doctor, he's very good. He's a Jewish gentleman. I can't think of his name, that did a special where they went back on the plagues. Did you see that? He
Yes.
was able to common sense tell about the sons dying because all sons got a bed to themselves.
Right.
And so this certain gas that came off a river probably went through and killed all. Remember how they talked about that? They talked about the insects, what happened at that time. It's amazing. So he made sense on all that stuff.
Well, nobody said they happened each day. I mean, it happened over a period of years. It could have been, we don't know.
Yeah.
But one of the things they were saying about, the firstborn dying is because in those days, the firstborn ate first. And there was a fungus that got into the wheat or the oats, and it was deadly. And they were thinking that maybe that had something to do with it as well.
There you go. Yeah.
There's a lot of,
There's so much stuff. Yeah.
It is. It's really kind of boggles
But
your
the
mind.
thing is, without the main man here and us interviewing him, we don't know the absolute truth.
We know, we never will. But and that's where the faith comes in.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway.
All right. Well, that my friend that I was discussing this with, he's extremely faithful. And by the way, an extremely good person. So he's that Catholic that I'm proud that he's Catholic because he represents Catholicism in the way it should be represented.
Well, I mean, we can still be faithful to our stuff and be good people. I mean, there are people that are good people that, that are all kinds of religions. It's just when they sit in judgment, that's wrong.
That's right. Yeah. And my mom was raised with nuns when she became an orphan, and they were quite cruel to her.
Oh, some of those nuns were brutal.
It was unfortunately that the church, with the males and what they did to children, it's bad, worse than Trump.
Well, there's a lot of in closets.
Okay, bye, you guys. Thank you. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Bye.